March 31st, the premiere of 40 for 40, Transformers the Movie. And to celebrate, we're looking back at some of our most unforgettable episodes featuring conversations about Transformers the Movie. And you can't think of Transformers the Movie without the music. The Touch, Dare, both of those played twice during the movie. Today, we're looking back on July of 2021 and my interview with Stan Bush, rock icon and member of the Transformers Hall of Fame. Whenever I get the opportunity to meet someone, anyone, who has contributed to the movie, including voice actors, writers, artists, and musicians, I make it a point to thank them for being a part of something that means so much to me and so many others as well. It was great hearing about Stan Bush's album, Dare to Dream, as well as the iconic songs he did for Bloodsport and Kickboxer as well. But did you know that The Touch wasn't actually written for Transformers the Movie originally? Find out about that and more coming up next. This is The Road to 40, and you're listening to Mike Seibert Radio. Enjoy.
You got the touch. You got the power. Yeah!
I've been waiting a long time for this. All talk, no shock.
And now, from the Emerald City of Seattle, it's the Mike Seibert Radio Podcast. Your home for pop culture, Transformers, independent artists, interviews, Transformers, and stuff and things.
Also sometimes Transformers.
And now, here he is, the man that's more than meets the eye, Mike Seibert.
Hey, welcome back to Mike Seibert Radio. I am your host, and today my guest is Emmy Award-winning artist Stan Bush. Hey, Stan, thanks for taking the time to join me here today.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going really well. It's an exciting time to be a Transformers fan, and it's especially exciting time to be a Stan Bush fan. Now, as folks might know, Stan Bush obviously is known best for his songs The Touch and Dare from Transformers the Movie. He's also a member of the Transformers Hall of Fame, but his other well-known songs include Capture the Dream from the 1996 Olympics, as well as Never Surrender and Fight to Survive from the Jean-Claude Van Damme classic films, Kickboxer and Bloodsport, respectively. And I want to talk about those iconic classics because, I mean, those are favorites of so many of ours, and those songs and those films are important to us. Believe me, we're going to talk about Dare and The Touch. Don't worry about it. But we've got some really great fan questions for Icon Online as well. But before we get there, I'd first like to start with talking about your brand new album, Dare to Dream. That's available for purchase now at stanbush.com. And Stan, it's your 14th studio album, but Dare to Dream being released, it feels weird to call 2020 last year because it still feels like it never really ended. But with Dare to Dream being released in 2020, I would imagine that there are some differences in how this album in particular came together that might be different than some of your previous work. So maybe let's start there and let's talk about Dare to Dream.
Yeah, great. Yeah, so the first song from the album was written actually about a year and a half ago, came out in the summer of 2019. We did a music video for it, the song called The 80s.
Can't stop this feeling of the 80s. For me, the dream still lives on. Wow. When I hear that music, I still go crazy. It's like those days are never gone. When I hear that 80s song.
And the 80s is about 80s music, of course. And the feeling that it gives you when you know, sort of you go back in time to being a kid or whatever. And you know how music kind of does that. It takes you back in time. And anyway, it's a song about 80s music. And we did a music video, and my son plays a young me in the video, and he even rented a VW bus to get the whole time machine vibe going, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a lot of fun. So after that, then later in the year, there were a couple more songs that I wrote, and but the bulk of the album was written in 2020. Myself and my producer Holger Fath. You know, it was sort of an interesting time. I mean, it was a really rough time for a lot of people, and you know, with the COVID and all that. But if there's one sort of silver lining, is there was you know, it was like a creative time, and also myself and my producer, we were able to just sort of focus in and just work on the album for pretty much most of the year. And anyway, we're very happy with how it came out. The reviews have been terrific, and people really seem to love the new album. It was actually voted number 10 album of the year last week or 2 weeks ago. So, you know, it's really getting well received.
Very cool. Well, congratulations. And again, I really enjoyed the album, and I think
Thanks.
a lot of folks that are fans of your music from Transformers and maybe some of your other stuff from the 80s, you might not be as familiar with some of your other music. And again, you know, this is your 14th studio album, so you've been prolific this entire time. And so one of the things I want to spotlight during our conversation here is that if you're a fan of Dare and The Touch and Never Surrender and Fight to Survive, go check out Stan's website and go check out some of those classic albums, because like that's kind of the headspace that I've been in personally for the last couple weeks, just kind of in preparation for this conversation. But what I have found is that in doing so, I've really found myself with like an extra spring in my step that I think I've been missing the last couple months. And, you know, just going through the titles of any given Stan Bush songs, and you just can't help but have that uplifting feeling. And I think that's a testament to the longevity of your music, Stan, is that, you know, you can throw in any given song at any given time and just get pumped and just get ready to capture the day. I was actually just listening to the 80s on the way to work this morning, and yeah, I just came to work just a little extra effervescent than normally, to the point where my coworkers are like, "What's wrong with this guy?" I'm like, "I've been listening to Stan Bush, man. I am just pumped."
Oh, that's nice. Thank you. Yeah, it's interesting, you know, because that whole sort of go for it, believe in yourself thing, that sort of, I mean, I've always been an optimist, right? You know, I have this like philosophy that, you know, we kind of make our own reality. I think that's really true, more than we want to believe. It's really just, I don't know, if you work hard and really do believe in what you're doing and have hope and optimism, I think a lot of life is attitude, you know, and
Yeah.
But I've been very blessed, and you know, maybe lucky too, I guess. And but it's kind of like The Touch sort of started a whole thing for me about that kind of thing. You know, I like writing those sort of motivational, where, you know, you know, it's also a little bit spiritual too. You know, you think about where all this comes from, of course, is God. You know, and it's, I don't know, it's just a really good thing, you know, to sort of, I don't know, I've gotten fan mail over the years, and it's just very humbling, you know, that, you know, to hear that stuff about, you know, how, especially like The Touch and Dare, those songs had given people, a lot of people sort of, you know, some sort of feeling of like, you know what I mean? That can-doism sort of.
Absolutely. And again, that's why I wanted to call it out also, is because, like, you know, for many of us, those songs, especially Dare for me personally, is just, you know, it's been a powerful inspiration throughout the vast majority of my life. And Stan, at this point, you have entire generations of fans that have found that inspiration in your music there.
Wow.
but I guess the next thing I would like to talk about, because you talked about the video for the 80s, which again is incredible, and I've already talked about it once, but I really enjoy that song because not only does it invoke, I mean, it invokes the classic feeling of the entirety of the 1980s, whether it's films, whether it's music, because like I can hear inspirations and textures in there that obviously are your signature sounds in your music as well, but I could hear other bands and other eras, and it's very transportative, and I really enjoyed that. But the other music video that you have produced is for the leadoff track, "Born to Fight."
You were born to fight, fight and fight with fire, with a burning heart. You were born to fight, fighting down to the wire, fighting into the dark. No surrender, no retreat. Unleash the power, take the heat. 'Cause tonight it's a battle of might. You were born to fight.
Again, like I mentioned, I was listening to the album on my way to work, and when that song starts up and it's like, "You were born to fight," and it's just like you can't help but be pumped up and just ready to tackle the day. But there's a music video for it, but also it's my understanding that song has been featured in a couple of Netflix anime in cartoons, and I was wondering if you could talk about that briefly.
Yeah, that's actually the last or the newest song on the album, the last one we recorded. Netflix reached out to me, I guess it was around September, and they asked if me to write a song about about fighting. The intention was to promote their two most popular anime shows, Baki and Kinga Nashura, and we co-wrote the song. Got Lenny Macaluso, my co-writer of The Touch. We got together and wrote "Born to Fight," and anyway, the song came out great. They loved it, and so we did a music video they produced with me, and it includes footage from the animated show.
Yeah.
It was very cool. I mean, it was fun making it. And I actually did a little bit of sort of preparation, learned a couple of fight moves and all this stuff. And my wife does fitness training, so she helped me with some of that. And it came out pretty cool, actually. It's like I don't know, I really like that style of music anyway. And it turned out it was a great opening track for the album. And but yeah, thanks.
It's definitely a mission statement. Like, it just grabs your attention, and it starts you on this journey that the album Dare to Dream takes you on. Because one of the other things that struck me about the new album, Dare to Dream, again, it's available at stanbush.com, but it's not all just hard rocking, hard driving tunes. There's a lot of introspective tunes in there as well, and I was going to ask you about that. I think you alluded to it earlier, but with the majority of the songs being written and produced within the year that was 2020, I would imagine that that had to be an inspiration on kind of like the whole of the album, because it feels, to me at least, it doesn't feel specifically like a concept album, but it's close. Like there's a lot of thematic elements that kind of carry throughout those 11 tracks.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I like an album that has sort of a wide array of stuff. You have like, rockers, and of course, like there's a big love ballad, Live and Breathe. And, there's also a couple of ones that are sort of more introspective, like the times of your life. It's kind of about appreciating every moment and living life to the fullest. And of course, Dare to Dream. And there's another one called Dream Big that have a similar sort of theme of like, go for it, and dream big. In other words, reach for stuff that maybe, you wouldn't have thought you were capable of doing and whatever. And it's just, I don't know. I really like that sort of element, and that song, Dare to Dream, came out to be like this, the title just sort of popped out of nowhere. I had this really cool musical thing going, and I was working on the chords and melody, and I thought, wow, this is going to be really good. And then all of a sudden the title just like pops into my head. It was like, I don't know. It was funny because there were already, there are two other songs. So three songs altogether that have the word dream in the title. And at first I thought, oh no, I can't do that. But then I started thinking, why not? It's sort of a theme. It sort of gives it a thread, and, I don't know. I like that kind of thing. There are a lot of albums you could probably think of, and me too, that have a sort of overall theme that weaves through it. But you're right about like the last song, of course, is more introspective. It's called Home, and it's about going back to. All of us have this yearning to go back to being a kid. It's not so much a place as it is a feeling. There's like a time of innocence, and that sort of thing. And that was a kind of a personal song too. And but yeah.
And the way that you describe the song Home, it kind of harkens back to the vibe and feel of the song The 80s, because it's like, I think where we're at now, kind of coming off of the pandemic and the year of 2020 that it was with existential dread and various difficulties we've all been feeling. I think that in a lot of ways we've re-embraced nostalgia. Like, we're going back and listening to our favorite music. We're going back and watching our favorite movies and TV shows. Mm-hmm. So in a way, listening to your album Dare to Dream kind of had that the feeling of nostalgia while still being new and vital and relevant, if that makes any kind of sense.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, as far as the 80s style of music, I mean, that's sort of part of me. I never really left the 80s. I'm kind of stuck in it. I guess that's a lot of us, right? But you're right. I mean, I think, like I say, it's almost like a contradiction in terms a bit to have an album of hopeful stuff, hopeful themes, and hopeful messages in a time in such an awful year like this has been. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hope somebody likes it, and that's pretty much seems to be the case. And
so with that, you put up a couple of videos on your YouTube channel where and your producer talking about the album Dare to Dream and some of what went into it. But I'm curious, with the year that we have shutdowns, it's not like we can just go to a studio like we would normally. How from like the production side, how was producing this album differently than some of your previous works?
Well, we did the recording was all done at my producer's house, so studio in the garage, that kind of thing. So we weren't actually in a public studio where we had to go in and safe distance and all that garbage.
Yeah.
So it was just he and I mostly. We did bring in a drummer, mutual friend of ours who's a great drummer, Greg Gamick. So yeah, this is really how we did the last 4 albums. I think this is the 4th one I've done with Holger, and he's incredibly talented guitarist and plays keyboards and does all that stuff. And he's a joy to work with. He's like, he's my best friend. So I think I said that in the little video. But it's just that's one of the things I've always wanted throughout my career. Like back in the 80s, the actual 80s. You'd spend $100,000 on an album, $125,000 recording an album, and you'd be in a studio, right? And it'd be, $75 an hour or whatever it is, sometimes more. And so you had to like move quickly, and you didn't always get what you wanted. Maybe the arrangement wasn't all there, and this kind of thing. So in a way, working at home is awesome because there's no clock on the wall. I mean,
Yeah. Interesting. That's really cool.
Yeah, you work on it until you get it right, and that's the deal.
So in a lot of ways, you've kind of embraced the work from home lifestyle ahead of the rest of us, and have found a way to make that work. And yeah. I think that's one of the aspects of our current times is that creative folks have found new and creative ways to be creative. Now, I've said creative 3 times in the same sentence, but it's interesting how innovative we can be with our creative endeavors. The last thing I'd like to ask you about the new album before we move on to our other topics is I'd like to ask you about the cover art. And when I was looking at, basically your back catalog on your website, stanbush.com, I could see kind of like an evolution of theme from, more traditional photo and text type to these elaborately beautiful pieces they're very evocative. And so I was wondering if we could talk about your album art.
Yeah, there's a guy in Italy, an amazing artist. His name is Nello Delamo, killer artist. He did the artwork for the last 4 albums of mine. And, anyway, Nello's great. They're sort of surreal and things that are sort of not possible in nature, gravity defying sort of abstract things. And the latest one actually has a floating ship, like a sailing ship. And this guy who's like probably a teenager or older teenager, standing on this up on this rock and watching all this stuff, sort of a dreamscape theme. And actually, the floating ship was my idea, but he executed it beautifully. And on the back cover, you see the teenager, sitting up in bed, and he's like awake in that scene. But it's kind of a thing about dreaming and
yeah.
But yeah, I thank you. I really I think the artwork is very cool, and I've gotten a lot of compliments on it.
Very cool. Well, thanks for taking the time to discuss Dare to Dream. Again, Dare to Dream, Stan Bush's 14th studio album, is out now. It is available at his website, stanbush.com, along with several other of your albums as well. So I pick up a few others while you're there as well, because I know I have. I've got a little bit of catching up to do, and it's been a really cool journey, kind of discovering and rediscovering your music, aside from the things that everybody knows, which is what we'll get into next. When I introduced you, Stan, at the top of the show, I introduced you as an Emmy-winning artist. Now, folks might not necessarily associate Emmys with music. It's television. Stan Bush, what is your Emmy award for?
It was Song of the Year for television in '96. The award was given in '97, but the song called "Till I Was Loved by You." It was used in a soap opera, a popular soap opera at the time called The Guiding Light, and we got nominated and we won. It was like unbelievable. So we, went up to the front and said a few words, and I don't even remember what I said. It's one of those cool things that nobody can ever take it away, kind of thing.
Exactly. And it's, and it's something unique as well. It's like for a prolific body of work, it's like, this is the thing that snags the reward. So, I mean, congratulations. That's really, really cool.
Credibility factor. So right up there with the being inducted into the Hall of Fame for Transformers.
Exactly.
Another big honor, so. It was cool.
Very cool. And I believe, I don't happen to have it in front of me, but you were amongst the first to be inducted in the Transformers Hall of Fame, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I don't recall, but yeah, it was fairly quick, early on, I think, like in 2014 or something.
Yeah. So before we get back into Transformers, I would briefly like to talk about your work in the Van Damme universe. Both Bloodsport and Kickboxer are iconic movies of the 80s as well. And I know there are just as many diehard Van Damme fans as there are Transformers fans. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about your contributions to the soundtracks for both of those movies.
Well, actually, back then in the late '80s, I was kind of a hired gun. I mean, as far as a singer, I did a lot of stuff. I sang in a lot of major commercials, and I was the voice for Toyota trucks and Coors Beer and all these things. And I sang on a lot of other albums. But the Van Damme, the first movie, and then also the subsequent one, Kickboxer, they actually just hired me as a singer to sing those songs. I didn't write those.
Okay.
But yeah, but you're right. I mean, there are a lot of people who say, know me. They'll see one of the movies on cable late at night. They'll see that. Oh yeah, and but it's cool. It's really cool songs, and I like the movies a lot. I went to the screening of Kickboxer, and I met him and stuff. And I
cool.
a couple years after that, he came into a big outdoor nightclub thing I was playing at, and the bouncers were giving him a hard time, and I went over and said, "I'll let this guy in."
Oh, that's awesome!
Right.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I did have a question from a friend of mine who is as much a Van Damme fan as I am a Transformers fan. And he's like, well, can you ask Stan about the soundtrack to Bloodsport? Because apparently he's under the impression that they're like, it's your voice in the songs in the movie, but apparently the soundtrack album features a different vocalist, like they hired somebody else to sing over those songs. Do you know anything about that?
I hadn't heard that. No, I really don't know. I know they released. I thought they released those soundtracks with my voice on them. I saw, there was somebody that released the Kickboxer one at least in Europe, and of course they did it without my permission, but it's one of those things. It's crazy business. You kind of keep track of stuff, but some things get away. But it's just, but yeah, it was cool. It was just one of many things out there that I did, and just like I did, I got called sort of at the spur of the moment to go sing on soundtrack album for Sailor Moon, and a song called "She's Got the Power." And
She's got the power. She's got the power. She's got the power. Yeah, she's got the power.
I remember I went and sang it, and people still ask me about that. Oh yeah, I hear this voice on Sailor Moon. She's got the power, and it's a cool song. So,
It's
also anime.
It's a fun one, and it seems like, again, there's that common theme, that Stan Bush theme of empowerment and fighting to win, and it's again, I could see that connective tissue there, and I had a couple folks that were Sailor Moon fans call that to my attention as well, and it is a really fun song. Sailor Moon isn't necessarily my first best fandom, but I checked it out and I really dug it.
Nice.
So from there, let's we talked about your new album, Dare to Dream, and coming up next, I have some really good fan questions from fans of Icon Online that will be coming up at the end of January. But I couldn't get out of here without talking about those two iconic classics that are a matched pair, but have kind of different stories. I was wondering if you could share with us. I know you've told the stories a million times, but somebody's show is somebody's first show. Could you tell us the story of Dare and the Touch from Transformers the movie?
Of how they got in the movie and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I was signed to Scotty Brothers Records, and Scotty Brothers had the Survivor and a few other bands. we were recording. We recorded The Touch. We wrote it originally, Lenny and I, with the idea of the movie Cobra with Sylvester Stallone, and it didn't end up in that movie. But the record label, they told me one day that, The Touch is going to be in the Transformers movie, and they said, oh, it's an animated movie about robots, and I'm like, okay. So, but little did I know it was going to become this huge phenomenon, So it's been a cool ride. I mean, my association with Hasbro has been awesome. Everybody's been really great. I've been to a lot of the Transformers conventions with, having sung The Touch and Dare, and a lot of people, they know those songs. And as I mentioned before, they maybe, they'll say these incredible things like, those songs were the soundtrack to my childhood or something, or maybe they helped me through a tough time. And again, very humbling to hear that stuff. It's, but yeah, some of the nicest people I've ever met have been at those conventions. They're just, it's just awesome. It's a great feeling.
Well, I would share with you, Stan, and this is no surprise to my audience, but Transformers the movie happens to be my favorite film. I saw it when I was very young. It left an impression on me, and even aside from being a fan of the toys and the comic books and everything that makes Transformers, that movie is my biggest takeaway and the thing that I keep close to me, and a lot of it has to do with the music. Obviously Vince's score, and the other great Scotty Brothers artists that were on there, but it's Dare and The Touch. It's because the cartoon that I would watch after school didn't have that, but this incredible theatrical experience, just blowing away my young mind, and with that song. And I just again, Dare is one of my favorite songs. And does Dare have a story that's different than The Touch? I mean, obviously The Touch was written for Cobra, but I think if I'm not mistaken, Dare came to be slightly differently.
Yeah, that was written by Vince DiCola and Scott Shelley. I wasn't actually a writer on Dare, but they had me sing it. And
right.
Yeah, it wasn't on my Barrage album, but it was on the soundtrack album for the film. And but yeah, Dare's a great song. Every time I perform, I have to do The Touch and Dare, of course. And
yes,
but it's cool. It's also a very uplifting song.
Absolutely. And with that, since we're within the realm of the Transformers, let's move on to some of these incredible fan submitted questions for Iacon Online. And I'd like to start with, I guess let's talk about legacy in a way. Like, did you have any inkling that the songs that were used in this transforming robot movie would resonate so strongly with fans 35 years on?
I had no idea, honestly. That was a complete surprise. As I said, I think the first of the conventions Vince DiCola and I both went to, it was in '97, and it was in Rochester, New York, I believe. And the people were just incredible. We performed, by the way, together, and did a few songs like Unplugged, and Vince and I played some together, and but just kind of grew from there. And I've attended and performed at several of the BotCon. Like I say, I didn't have any idea that was going to happen. But like I say, if you got to be known for a song, it may as well be a good one. So The Touch has had a life of its own. I mean, the Boogie Nights, and I guess you have that coming up. So we'll kill that one. Attack it when we get to it.
I mean, we're here now. Let's because you're right. I mean, the Touch has its own special legacy that's beyond Transformers the movie. It's fascinating how the lifespan of a song can go. Like a song that you guys wrote for a Sylvester Stallone movie ends up in a Transformers movie, and then later on ends up in Boogie Nights, as well as kind of a pop culture staple. And so, given the success of The Touch in Transformers the movie, what were your thoughts when the song was used in the movie Boogie Nights?
Well, first of all, I thought it was hilarious. It was a spoof on the '80s, and Mark Wahlberg pulled it off perfectly. It was just awesome.
You got the touch. You got the power. Yeah.
But I think it was sort of meant to be tongue in cheek. And just a quick Wahlberg story. I ran into him at a Transformers convention in about 3 or 4 years ago, and he was coming off of a panel, and we were both backstage, and he was walking by, and I said, "You got the touch." He turned around and said, "How did I do?" And I said, "It was great." Anyway, he comes over a couple minutes later and with his phone, and we're both standing singing into the phone, like he's taping it, videoing, and singing the touch together like a couple of drunk guys, right? It was,
oh my gosh.
He puts it on his Facebook, and a couple hours later, we have 650,000 views, and it was pretty cool. The guy, he was really neat for him to do that, and
Yeah.
it was an amazing coincidence too, since he not only starred in Boogie Nights, but he also was the lead actor in the Transformers, two or three of the live action. Yeah, so what a coincidence, right? And
Yeah, it's an incredible coincidence. It's a small world, but also unfortunately a slight missed opportunity, because like there's times where Mark's character is driving around in a truck, and like there's just that super fan in me that just wish he would have spun the radio dial and that song be on, and just don't dwell on it, just like just kind of like acknowledge it with a nod or something, and then turn the dial again. But I think that just would have been a really cool way to kind of complete that circle in terms of like his involvement and the song and Transformers.
You're right. Yeah, that would have been a cool gift to the fans, And as it was, of course, Bumblebee movie did finally use the touch, and that really cool cameo thing where, so it's all good.
Yeah. So with that, kind of getting back to films and soundtracks, how much information are you given for the films and shows that you do music for, or is the context of the songs were to be used in? What's kind of that process?
Well, generally, I think when I get contacted to use one of my songs in either a film or a TV show, they generally already know what song they want and that sort of thing. It's not sort of, hey, can you write this for this? You know what I mean? But in the case of the Netflix thing recently, that was sort of contracted me to write the song, but or commissioned is a better word probably. But yeah, it's generally, we want the touch, or we want this other song for this show, and and they send me the paperwork, that kind of thing. So. But I mean, I know a lot of people, it is that way, where they're asked to write a song that fits a certain storyline or something like that. And, but I haven't done a lot of that kind of work. Usually the people are familiar with my work, or like I say, they want the touch or something,
Yeah, that makes sense. Now you had mentioned your the Barrage album earlier, and I've got a couple fan questions related to that. What's your connection to Rocket Ricochet? And he rocked guitar on the Barrage album, and 20 years later suddenly appears on your song Southern Rain. And so I guess first we could talk about Rocket, and then also talk about Southern Rain, because I watched that video on your YouTube channel. It's incredibly heartfelt and touching.
I can hear the thunder call me back from where I came. There's a part of me still there walking down that country lane. If I could go back, would it ever be the same? The closest that I've been to heaven is standing in the southern rain.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that Rocket's great. He's a great guitar player. I knew him way back when he was playing guitar with David Lee Roth and his band. I think Steve Vai had just left the band, and then they got Rocket to play, and he's just fabulous, amazing guitar player, great So when we did the Barrage album, the album cover, we wanted to give off more of a band image. So Rocket, I called him, and we got a couple other buddies, and we went down to that photo on that album was taken in the parking garage of CBS Records.
Oh,
yeah, it was pretty funny.
awesome.
Yeah, so
I love those stories like that.
yeah, Rocket's great though. I still see him every now and then. But yeah, I called him when we did Southern Rain. It was in 2007 for that In This Life album. But yeah, I called Rocket, and he came down, and he played the acoustic stuff, and it's just did a beautiful job. That song Southern Rain is like for me very heartfelt. And I grew up in Florida, like I say, and it rains all the time down there, and it's great because in the summertime it's pouring down rain, but it's warm. You can walk out in the rain and that kind of thing. And of course, we did when we were kids, and it's the best feeling in the world.
Very cool. Now with that, I had another question. Do you have plans to put out your first solo album and the first Barrage album on either iTunes or digital stores, or perhaps selling it on your website?
I actually don't own the rights to those two. It's just one of those things. I mean, I was under contract to CBS, which is now Sony,
Sure.
for the first album, and then Scotty Brothers for the second album, the Barrage album. But those rights are now with Sony, both albums. So it's I guess eventually, if I wanted to, I could buy the rights or obtain the rights probably for a fee. But I haven't really pursued it. But just kind of you keep going forward, and it's pretty cool.
Gotcha.
But that's why they're not on there on my website.
Okay, that makes sense, because I had a couple other folks ask me about that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So getting back to the songwriting process a bit, what inspires you to write kick-ass motivational songs, especially now when times are a little tougher?
Well, yeah, just like I said before, I think there always could be more positivity in the world. I think there's a lot of stuff, a lot of dark stuff these days on TV and everywhere. And it's I don't know. I to me, I'm all about hope and optimism. It's just that's just who I am. I've always been. I had a happy childhood, a close family. My parents were awesome. That kind of thing. And I think that sort of shapes who you are. And anyway, that's just. I don't know. What can you say?
Yeah, it's sometimes we just have that inspiration and motivation and the compulsion to share it and pass it along and pay it forward. I totally understand. So getting back to Transformers, then, if you were asked to write music for another Transformers movie soundtrack, what would it sound like, and what would your inspiration be? Well,
I think the 80s power rock thing is to me the coolest stuff, like songs like Born to Fight that have they got a lot of balls and all that, but they also have like a melodic thing that's really cool. It's reminiscent to me structurally, song wise, of like the early Foreigner, a bit.
Yeah.
And let's see, also first of all, I'd be honored if they asked me to be involved in the new upcoming Transformers, because I've been part of the brand a long time, and everything's great. I mean, like I say, I've done tons of stuff, events and conventions, and my songs have been in the games, the Transformers games,
right?
The Touch, and of course, Till All Are One was in I think it's War for Cybertron game. So a song like that also would totally work for Transformers, or we could write a new song. But yeah, I'd be honored if they wanted a song. So,
well, and I think it's so cool the way that your music, especially tied within the Transformers brand, transcends generations. Like I was having a conversation with somebody recently where I was talking about Darren the Touch, but they're drawn to Till All Are One, because that was the era that they grew up in, and that was kind of like the time that they found Transformers. It's got all of these different entry points, and so it's been cool cool that there's been different iterations of the touch in a couple different places, and that new song "Tell All or One." New, but newer, I guess. But no, it as somebody that's a fan that's my age and looks the way that I do, it fills me with hope and a happiness that folks that are half my age and look nothing like me have a similar resonance with the same type of music, just 20 years removed. I think it's just really cool.
I know what you mean. I think really a lot of it too is just the 80s music itself, that style. Yeah. I don't know, you're certainly old enough to remember the 80s movies, right? They had these incredible songs that like Top Gun or whatever it is, even like Eye of the Tiger, one of the greatest all-time uplifting kick butt songs. It's like really cool stuff, and you'd walk out of the movie theater, you'd sing the song, you'd remember it. It's like those kind of big hooks, that they stick in your head and you remember them. That sort of went away. I mean, the 90s music, the grunge thing, it was more about sort of angst and I'm pissed off and whatever. And then, things have kind of evolved, but I think one of the great things about 80s music, and that's why I think that there's been a resurgence, is because of that sort of, the big hook, the big 80s hook that people remember. And, the songwriting, it was a cool time, I think, for songwriting, because the songs had a neat structure. And one of the things I do is I change keys a lot. I modulate, and so, you're listening to the song and then it'll go to a new key and you're like, wow, it's like, I like to surprise people. To me, I really try hard not to do something that, is predictable. So.
Absolutely. Very cool. That's awesome. This is kind of left field, but one of the questions we got, is it true you did the jingle for the Freddy Freaker Freak phone commercial?
Yes, it was a favor for a friend. I swear I had only been in LA about 6 months or something by then. And this guy asked me if I would do it. And then, immediately it was all over what it was at the time, sort of like the music video channel, like
MTV or
like
VH1. Yeah.
Maybe before that even, but
okay.
Yeah. And it was just a sort of I don't know if you remember 900 numbers, you call up.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
They bill you per minute on the call. They bill the caller, in other words. So this person had this idea of making money doing that. And I didn't really know the whole story, but I just said, he's a friend. I'll do it.
It's the freak phone, and here's the party freak. Freddy Freaker, dancing new sensation, grabbing the nation, doing the freak. Call now, 1-900-490-FREAK. Join the party, the fast and easy way to hear what's scamming from New York to LA. Call now, 1-900-490-FREAK. What's happening, what's jamming, party till you drop. Dial and hear the action, what's hot and what's not. Call now, 1-900-490-FREAK. $2 a call.
That's funny. When I was very young, right around the time I saw Transformers the movie, actually, I ran up a pretty hefty phone bill calling Santa Claus on a 900 number.
Oh no, you're bad.
Because like it would be there on the commercial, and I would call it, and I remember my mom was like, "Who are you calling?" I'm like, "Santa," and she's like, "Okay, no, we need to have a conversation about what this means." So,
at least it wasn't phone sex, Santa's not too bad.
Yes, that is true. Or Miss Cleo, she didn't see that one coming. So what sticking with music, what's some of your favorite music apart from your own music? The music that you've written yourself. What are some of your favorites?
Well, it's funny. I mean, I don't really keep up with modern music too much. I'll hear, occasionally there'll be a cool song that I'll hear, but I have always been a big fan of the Eagles, and Don Henley particularly. The guy's an amazing songwriter, and he's probably one of my favorite artists. And I've always liked the Zeppelin, and like I mentioned before, the early Foreigner stuff. Just great songs, But yeah, it's all about the songs. I mean, I grew up during the late 60s, early 70s, and when they had well, of course the Beatles, but then later, there was this, soul music, basically, R&B, Motown. It was like the best stuff, some of the best songs. It's just incredible singing and playing, and just, I don't know, throughout the 70s, they had all these incredible bands like, America and Elton John, incredible. I've always loved Elton John, his stuff. And so, yeah, it's kind of it's not just rock, but, only rock. I've listened to everything. Back then, radio was all over the map. You could turn on AM radio and you'd hear like, Jimi Hendrix, and then you'd hear like Bridge Over Troubled Water or something,
Yeah, for sure.
It wasn't all like, segmented and compartmentalized now like it is now.
So going back to Transformers, I realize now I should have organized my questions a little better. But going back to Transformers, you're part of the Transformers Hall of Fame. So as such, folks had a couple questions about the franchise for you, starting with who is your favorite Transformer?
Bumblebee.
That's a solid pick. Now, if you could choose which side, which faction, would you choose the Autobots or the Decepticons?
I don't know. They're both pretty cool. Probably an Autobot, because initially they were considered sort of more the good guys, But I understand they kind of help each other now, and it's sort of evolved from there. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, good guys are great, but bad guys have more fun and generally dress better.
That's a good one. Yeah,
I mean, those are some sharp looking bad guys there, but I digress. If you yourself, Stan Bush, if you were a Transformer, what would you be, and possibly what would your name be?
Oh boy, I have no clue. Honestly, I don't really have an answer for that one. But I don't know.
I got you. No, that's fine, because like some folks kind of gravitate to ground vehicles, like, oh, I would be a Jeep, or like I want the feeling of flying, so I would be a jet, or
a semi truck, like Optimus Prime. We'll go with that.
There it is. Perfect. Yeah. I love it. So what we've talked so much, Stan, about how inspiration is kind of a common theme within your music, and how that feeling is passed along to us fans that we enjoy in. But what do you do to pump yourself up? What inspires you or fills you back up when you start to feel down?
I just go outside. I mean, it's I live in the hills outside of Los Angeles, and it's a beautiful area. Got a hilltop cottage with a view, and do hikes and stuff. And I just like to be outside, and that's exercise, of course. Working out.
Sure.
That pumps me up, literally and figuratively. So it's important, I think, to move and get out. Because I think that seems to fix whatever's going on, with, all of us get stuck in this, it's a incredibly, crazy world these days. And just living and working in the modern world is stressful, and I think all of us have to find our own sort of release. And
so, with we've talked pretty extensively about your songwriting process, but when you write music, which is harder, the verses or the choruses?
Probably the choruses. I think because you need to come up with a hook that's going to be memorable. You want something that's, first of all, catchy. Second of all, hasn't been done to death. You want to have something that sounds sort of original, and I don't know, it just seems like you can get away with a verse as long as it builds and has I usually do sort of what they call a B section, sort of between the verse and the chorus, like another little section, a B verse or B section, we called it. And then a bridge, of course, just if you have all of those elements, and each one can be really catchy and hooky, as it were, then you can really have a very strong song, melodically and musically. And I think again, lyrics are hard. It's, that's the thing I think I've gotten smarter over the years, I think. And that's one of the keys, I think, to being able to think of a lyric that's going to work and be sort of, clever a little bit, not too crazy, but something that's relatable. And I think I read a lot too, so that helps.
You had mentioned some of those early experiences going to BotCon and playing with Vince and being included in part of the fandom and being appreciative of Transformers fandom. But I was wondering, the person that submitted the question was wondering, what's one of your favorite memories with fans?
Well, I think I've said this before, but just these conventions and things, the people are just awesome. They're just wonderful, kind, very respectful. When it's, first of all, it's humbling, like I said, for, if you have sort of people lined up to get your autograph, it's like, how do you explain, I don't deserve this, I suck, whatever, you know what I mean? You have all these thoughts that you're sort of not worthy, and it's just humbling is the main thing I can say. And these people have been wonderful. And I mean, I've, like I said, I've received fan mail over the years that they say wonderful things about the song, or maybe what it meant to them as youngsters and so forth. Maybe they were in a tough time and it helped them through it and overcome obstacles in life. And one of the cute things, I had a fan when a little kid wrote me a fan letter, and he says, "You're my biggest fan." He had it backwards.
Oh, that's sweet. I love that.
I love that. Yeah.
That's adorable. Now, I forget if I asked you this earlier or not, but were you familiar with Transformers at all prior to Scotty Brothers basically putting your song "The Touch" in this Transformers movie?
Yeah, I had let's see, a cousin. He was 9 years old at the time, and he had a Transformers toy, and he was showing me how he could turn it from a truck into a robot. And and it was done. And I mean, I couldn't do it to save my life. I was like,
I understand.
So that was I knew what they were, but that was the extent of it. So in the beginning, I learned more over the years, like I said, being associated with the brand, and mainly from fans. They would say, "Oh, yeah, this one does this," and that kind of thing. And yeah,
very cool. So as we get close to closing out, and again, my guest is Stan Bush. We have been talking about Transformers and fandom and all kinds of other cool topics of, music making process. But we've also talked about his new album, Dare to Dream, which is available now at his website, stanbush.com. So you'll definitely want to check that out. But Stan, as we get ready to close out, I got a couple more questions for you. And you've done a bunch of work with Disney, like Mickey sports songs, songs from the 100 Acre Wood, and so on. And it's kind of outside of what I guess the types of music that Transformers fans are used to from Stan Bush. What's that relationship been like with Disney and making those songs?
Well, like I say, I've had a long career as a singer, and I've gotten called by Disney and other people over the years to sing various things, and some of it I like I say, I'm literally on the project for a couple of hours. They'll say, "Oh, can you come sing this?" And
yeah,
there was a song, TV show rather, a cartoon that I sang on. That was a Disney. And I'm trying to remember the name of it. Anyway, but it was really good, and it'd be impossible for me to. I mean, half the stuff I sang on, I don't even remember. People will come back years later and they'll have like this demo. So, "Hey, you remember this?" And I'm like, "No." No, they would sometimes they'd send me a cassette tape, a week or two ahead, and I'd listen to it literally in the car driving there, and. But I don't know. It's been a long career. Really fun though. I mean, it's cool singing all kinds of different things, songs and different film things and whatever. But I even did a Disneyland park. They had a thing called Blast to the Past. It was a it ran for a while as it was like a 50s theme, 50s music. So.
Oh, cool. I'm not familiar with that. I'm going to have to check that out. That sounds awesome.
Yeah. So it's just one of those things, I've sung a zillion things and, don't remember half of them, but
right.
But it's been fun.
Well, I think sometimes, unfortunately, that's what we as fans and us as content creators kind of forget, is that, like, you'll like you had just said, Stan, you'll sing a song once, but that song that you sang once and had that one afternoon, that's somebody's favorite song, and they would listen to it in their room like every day. And it's just I mean, because I've discovered this when I speak to, like, writers of the TV show, or even like the voice actors for Transformers or other things, and oftentimes there'll be that moment of, I'm sorry, I don't remember that, because what was, like, a lifetime cherished thing was for that particular individual Tuesday. Just to kind of put it that way. But
that's a really great observation. I hadn't really thought of it that way, but you're right. It's probably the same with actors. You see somebody that you're like, and they barely remember doing it, but maybe it had a big impact on you, and it's kind of cool. That's I always thought, a little off the subject, but I always thought movies were like awesome, because you think about, okay, they spend $100 million making this great movie, and everybody basically who goes to see it at the theater, they pay some money, a little bit of money. And so they basically all chip in together to make this $100 million movie, but you get the full benefit of it by just, paying for your ticket. You get, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of a cool, it's a cool way to look at it. It's like,
absolutely.
It's a great business. It's a tough business. I mean, it really is.
Yeah.
Los Angeles, it's probably like New York City or something. You really have to hustle. I remember back in the day when I first started doing commercials, jingles, and all. I mean, I would make cassette tapes, and I would send them out to all the music producers in town, and make follow-up calls. And I befriended like female singers, because they would refer you for stuff, because nobody who's looking for a singer doesn't know whether they want a male or a female, that kind of thing. So there's no but yeah, it's just it's one of those things, like, I guess, like anything, you really push and work hard, you can get some stuff going, but I've been blessed in that way.
Absolutely. Very cool. And, we spoke of Dare to Dream earlier, and it's your 14th studio album, but what does Stan Bush spend his time on when he's not writing his next album? Do you collaborate with other musicians? I mean, and especially now at a time when touring isn't necessarily a thing, what do you do in between projects?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I spend a lot of time, like I say, hiking, taking the dog for a walk, and different things. And my wife and I live in, this place here in the hills, so it's kind of it's a cool location. First of all, it's not like I'm, in some little apartment or somewhere where I can't even go outside. I mean, this COVID thing's been crazy in that regard. People sort of housebound or homebound. But I don't know. It to me, it's mostly family and friends, and just trying to enjoy my time. It's just, like I say, it's hard to, and I read a lot. I mentioned that, so I guess. What does anybody do? I guess this past year's been like so crazy. It's sort of off the charts of what would be normalcy. So, hopefully it'll open back up, and you can do the hang more, go out to dinner, and go play gigs with my buddies. One thing I should mention also is I have an acoustic band that here in LA. We're called Acoustic Saints. The bass player from Quiet Riot, the guitar player played with a zillion people. The drummer was with America and Tina Turner, and it's a really killer band. But we play like covers like Zeppelin and Henley, and just all the songs are like really cool. and the guitar player, the other guy, also plays violin and mandolin. So it makes it where we can do a really unique sort of combination of stuff. And it's a very special kind of band. We've been doing gigs. That's another kind of side thing. So
that sounds like a lot of fun. That sounds really cool. And that actually kind of transitions into one of my final questions here. Do you prefer the thrill of composing in studio or the thrill of performing live out on a stage?
Wow.
They're two different energies. It's two very different things.
They're very different, and they're both awesome. When you're performing, it's like I get this feeling like I'm flying almost if I'm really on and my voice is really working, and it's a great feeling. But ultimately, I think songwriting is the most rewarding, especially when you come up with something that you feel like is a great song. It's hard. It takes a lot of energy. It's like a puzzle. You get one little thing that works, and it might take days or even weeks before you start to get the other pieces you need to make it all sort of come together. And then it's like, wow, the feeling of sort of creating something from nothing is that's, to me, that's like the best. So.
And you had, I guess this is probably kind of like a technical question, or we could approach it as a philosophical question if you'd like. Is it with regards to production and writing, is it easy to make music sound 80s-ish? If so, what software or mixer do I need? Because I would love to do the same for some of my future songs. So I think this is somebody that's pursuing their own musical interests. So I guess I'd like to ask you that question in two parts. One is, are there suggestions that you could give folks that are looking to find like a particular 80s sound, or what advice would you have for folks that are looking to pursuing their own creative endeavors? And we can close out on that. Sure. Advice for the kiddos.
Yeah. Well, sort of 80s music, to me, I mean, I think of 80s, I think of like big sound, like the drums are big, the guitars are big, keyboards, fat keyboards, and the drum sounds are huge. So part of it is that, and also like layering. You put, instead of just one guitar track, you might have like four or something, and couple of them are double power chords, and a lot of it too is the style of writing. You have like I use a lot of background vocals, and I sing all the parts on that, but I'll do like it's 3-part harmony, but I'll sing each part 4 times. So there's like, 12 singers instead of 3 or 4. Yeah, 3. And so, it makes it sound really huge and fat like a choir. But yeah, I think a big part of it is production. Like 80s stuff is big, and it requires a lot of time to put that stuff together. Recording wise and all that, it's not like something you can record a song in like 2 days or something. I mean, it really takes a lot of time to put, and each part has to be really carefully played and in tune, and the vocals need to be in tune. A lot of rock stuff has a higher vocal, and of course that helps for me that I'm a tenor, so I can still sing those high notes and that kind of thing. But a lot of it's the style of song, that works. I mean, sometimes you can take a song that would work either as a country song or an 80s rock song, and a lot of it is the production. But, as far as software, I'm a Pro Tools guy, and
sure.
Yeah, so that's pretty much the software. But I mean, mainly you can do a lot. I mean, they have all kinds of stuff now to assist in home recording. You can get stuff that are fairly inexpensively, software and hardware and things for home recording. So it's come a long way. It's like I said, the albums that I've been doing with my producer Holger Fath, if you did that same quality, I mean, that sounds the new album, for instance, to me sounds better, or at least as good as the ones I did with the big budgets way back. You spend like $100,000 on an album, and now I can do the thing like with Holger, just for a lot less, just a fraction of the money, because of the way that the technology's come so far along, but there's other stuff too, about using the really good mic preamps and that kind of thing, and the A to D, that means analog to digital converters. That's another, people don't think about that, but that's really important. You want to get the high quality converters. And so that's enough technical stuff, I guess.
Yeah, I was going to say we could probably do an entire other show about technology and technique, but I appreciate you being so generous with that answer, and Stan, I really appreciate you being so generous with your time and for answering through those fan submitted questions. That was a ton of fun. I really appreciate you being able to join us here today.
Thanks for having me. It was my pleasure. Yeah, like you told people, you want to go to stanbush.com. I'm not going to spill the beans here, but there's something very big that's coming out in probably another week or week and a half, and it involves Transformers. So just keep an eye on stanbush.com, and you're gonna know what's going on then. So
I love it. I cannot wait, because I am a fan of Stan Bush and I am a fan of Transformers. So I get the feeling that this is going to be right up my alley.
I think you're gonna dig it. So anyway, thanks again for having me.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much. And that will wrap things up for this episode. Thank you so much for watching and for listening. And if you want to listen to my podcast, Mike Seibert Radio, and all of my past shows, subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, or wherever the heck else you listen to your podcasts. And check out the full show archive out on SoundCloud. Like, share, rate, and review the show. Let us know what you like and what you'd like to hear more of in the future. And until next time, wear a mask, wash your hands, and of course, make good choices.
Awesome. Thanks.
You've been listening to the Mike Seibert Radio Podcast. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram by searching at Mike Seibert Radio. Email us at mikeseibertradio@gmail.com. The spelling on that, of course, is SEIBERT. Call into the voicemail hotline at 231-224-MIKE. Once again, that's 231-224-6453. Special thanks to Michael Geisler for our theme music. For more like it, check out ByDoorMusic.com. This has been a Mike Seibert radio production.
Hi, I'm Simon, Santa's chief elf. Want to find out how to get this giant Christmas whoopee? Call Santa at 1-900-909-2345 and he'll tell you a different Christmas story every day. Plus, he'll tell you how to get these Christmas whoopies free with the cost of your call. So call Santa at 1-900-909-2345. But remember, each 2-minute message costs $2.45, so get your parents' permission first.
Okay, Simon, we're off to our next stop. Merry Christmas!
Don't you really want to know?
Okay, I was wondering who the father of my baby was.
All right, let's take a look. The Miss Cleo DNA test. I'm solely searching for the father of your baby. Oh, it's the one that's very unpleasant, okay?
Okay.
And he's also the one that had another girlfriend while he was sleeping with you.
Yes, he did.
Yep, that's him. That's the daddy.
Okay.
But you knew that.
I wasn't sure.
I don't know how. The baby looks just like him.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, so you were in denial because he has a funny little chin, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
Yeah, and the baby have that same little chin.
Oh, my God. Ooh.
The cards can reveal things that you will never see by yourself. Call me now for your free tarot reading.
Call 1-800-980-8637.
Next up on the Road to 40, meet a podcaster and author who loves the Transformers the movie about as much as I do, and you'll find out how Excelsior Journeys kicked off a month-long celebration to commemorate the movie's 35th anniversary.